Who needs a chicken when you can have this amazing emotional support bouquet? Hi, it's Krista at The Secret Yarnery. Today we are making this fabulous emotional support bouquet that turns into a shawl. Isn't that great? So just that little hug you need, little pick-me-up. And of course you can make your roses any color you like. These are just the colors that I tend to buy from my florist. So I just made my own, and it is so easy and fun to do. You are going to love it. The finished size of my shawl is 27 inches long. You, of course, could make yours more of a capelet. You could make it a lot smaller if you wanted. And that is 40 rows of double crochet or 42 rows if you include the start. To make your emotional support bouquet shawl, you're going to need yarn. You will need 550 grams or 6 balls of the white. We'll have some white left over. You'll need 200 grams for your flowers. And that will depend what colors you are using, but 200 grams in total to make my size. And also 75 grams of green. I used a 6mm crochet hook and a 4mm crochet hook, just a smaller hook, for attaching the flowers later. You will also need 7 stitch markers if you are new to crochet. They're optional. A pair of scissors and a needle for sewing in your ends. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. To start your shawl, make a slip knot, just leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later, and chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, and 12. Now we want to work into our back loops. So if you look at the pretty side of your chain, all those cute little V's, we just want to roll that to the side. And we want to be looking for these camel bumps or these back loops along the back. We're going to work into the second back loop right here. The first one is right underneath the working yarn. We're skipping that one, and we're going to make a single crochet into each back loop all the way along, starting with this one right here. So just pop your hook in to slide that back loop onto your hook and make 1 single crochet, and 1 single crochet into each back loop, all the way down your chain. This is going to be right at the back of our neck. If you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com, and all of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. So each of these back loops gets a single crochet. Just take your time, slide each one onto your hook. All the way down to the end of your chain. And we have that last back loop right there. So don't forget that one. That's our last single crochet. Just like that. Chain 1, turn your work, and we're going to skip 4 of these stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, working into number 5. And we're going to make 1 treble crochet. So wrap your yarn twice and into the 5th stitch, 1 treble crochet, chain 1, 1 more treble crochet into that same stitch, chain 1, and into the next stitch, 1 treble crochet, chain 1, and 1 more treble crochet into that same stitch. Chain 1 into the next stitch. We're going to do the same thing. So 1 treble crochet, chain 1, and 1 treble crochet. So there's our first treble crochet, our chain 1, and our last treble crochet into that same stitch. Chain 1, And now we're going to make our slip stitch right into that first stitch along the edge. So not where our treble crochets are, but along the beginning edge, that very first stitch right there. So just pop your hook in right there and slip stitch. So that finishes our first row. Chain 2. If you are a tight crocheter, you can chain 3, but try a chain 2 for now. It makes a really nice straight edge along your shawl. Turn your work, and now into this stitch along the edge. Right there, we're going to do 2 double crochets. Just pop your hook in and make 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Now that was a little bit awkward, but it's going to give a really nice finished edge to your shawl. This is going to be right around our necks. We want it to be as smooth and pretty as it can be. So that counts as our first 3 double crochets. Chain 1 and into the next stitch, 3 double crochets. If I'm going too fast or too slow, you can hit that gear on the video and slow me down or speed me up. Chain 1 and into the next stitch, 3 double crochets. And chain 1. And we're going to do that into each of these stitches all the way along. Each stitch gets 3 double crochets and a chain 1. You can pause the video, keep working along, and I'll meet you when you have finished this stitch right there and right before we get to this last bit. So I've made the 3 double crochets and a chain 1 into every stitch. And now we're back at the beginning. So still do your chain 1. And we're going to go into that stitch right at the edge. Right there. So there's our starting tail. And we're working into that V, our very first V. So into that first stitch right on the edge, we're going to do 3 double crochets. You can work over that first tail if it helps. There. Just like that. Now we are ready to do the repeat. So this is what we're going to be doing until your shawl is the size you want it to be. So chain 2, 1 and 2, or a chain 3 if you chain very tightly. Turn your work and into the very first stitch right here, we're going to make 1 double crochet. So that counts as 2 double crochets to start. And 1 double crochet into each of the stitches. 1 and 2 for this round. Chain 1 into the very first stitch, 2 double crochets. So the very first stitch of every set gets 2 double crochets, and then 1 double crochet into the rest. So 1 and 2. Chain 1 into the very first stitch, 2 double crochets, into the same stitch, and 1 double crochet into each of the rest of the set. So there's 2 double crochets for this round. But as your shawl grows, there's going to be an extra double crochet every time. So eventually you're going to be doing a whole bunch of double crochets per set. When you get to this space, chain 1 and jump to the next set. So these are the sets all the way around, and they're going to grow 1 double crochet wider or longer each round. So into the first one, 2 double crochets, and 1 double crochet into each of the rest of the stitches of that set. You can pause the video, keep working along, doing a chain 1 and 2 double crochets into the first stitch, and 1 double crochet into the rest, all the way along, and I'll meet you when you get to this last shell right over here, this last set. So here at this last set, it looks like there's only 2 stitches because we have a very short chain here, but we made it short because that's going to keep it nice and straight and snug. So we're going to do our 2 double crochets into the first stitch. I've already done my chain 1. So 2 double crochets into this first stitch. 1 and 2, and 1 double crochet into the next stitch. That's right here. And now we have to work into that chain, right down there. So 1 double crochet into the chain. And see that nice straight edge? That is what we want. This is going around the back of our neck, so we want that to be comfortable. So if it looks a little funny now, that's okay. It's going to fit great around the back of our neck. And if you're wondering what to do at the end, if you have to work into that chain or you haven't, just look back to the set before and just count how many double crochets you did. And the end set is going to have the same number. So we have 4 here. We're going to need 4 to end as well. So now we are ready to start another row. So chain 2, turn your work. So 1 double crochet into that very first stitch. So that counts as our first 2 stitches, including that chain, and 1 double crochet into the rest of those stitches. So see, now there's 3, but each round there's going to be more. You will have a lot by the time it's the right size. So just tell yourself 2 double crochets into the first, 1 double crochet into the rest. When you get to your chain space, chain 1 and skip over to the next set, 2 double crochets into the first, 1 double crochet into the rest. If you want to see where if you're new to crochet, you can mark these chain spaces with a stitch marker, just so you know that that's a chain space. That's where you're going to chain and that's where you're going to jump over. Just grab your stitch markers and pop them in. You could use paper clips or even just knot a piece of yarn into that space. We're not crocheting into the space, so we don't need to worry about that. The stitch markers won't be in the way. Just to mark the spaces. There, just like that. So now we can easily see our chain spaces. I've done my chain 1, so into the first stitch of the set, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet into the rest, and when you get to your space or your stitch marker, chain 1 and skip right over it. And just repeat that, 2 double crochets into the first, 1 double crochet into the rest, all the way along, and I'll meet you at the end of your row. At the end of your row, we have 5 double crochets now, so we're going to need 5 double crochets in our last set as well. So always starting with 2 double crochets into the first stitch. And 1 double crochet into each stitch and into the chain. 1, there's 2, and now we have to work into our chain, and this is how it's going to be for the rest of your shawl. Our chain is down here if you did the chain 2. If you did a chain 3, it'll be a little higher up, but just into the chain, and that is going to bring that chain up, and it's going to give the edge of our shawl a really nice straight edge to it. So now you can pause the video, keep working along, just repeating that back and forth. It is going to grow every time by 1 double crochet per set. So 2 double crochets into the first, 1 into each of the rest of the stitches, and chain 1 to jump over our chain space. So pause the video, keep working along, and I will meet you when your shawl is the length you want it to be. When your shawl is the length you want it to be, for mine, I did 40 rows of double crochet. We are ready to finish off that last stitch. So that very last double crochet into the chain, we are going to start it, but we're going to leave those last 2 loops on your hook. Go ahead and grab your leaf color yarn. Loop of yarn on your hook, just a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. just pull it through those 2 loops to finish off that double crochet and hold both of those tails along the back of your work. And now we are ready to start the leaves. To start the leaves, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and turn your work. You can gently knot these 2 tails if you like, just so they don't get too big, but we can also just sew them in later. Not a big deal, but just a loose knot. We can fix it later. Turn your work. We're going to skip 2 stitches. So we worked into this first stitch right there. We're going to skip 2 and work into the 3rd, which is right here. And we're going to make 1 single crochet, chain 3, skip 2, 1 single crochet into the 3rd. So we're going to do this all the way along the bottom edge of our shawl. A chain 3, skip 2, and single crochet into the 3rd stitch. So chaining 3, skipping 2, into the 3rd, 1 single crochet. And you can pause the video and just keep working along the edge of your shawl. I'll meet you when you get closer to a chain space over here. When you get to a chain space, yours might line up different than mine. When you get to your chain space, yours might line up different depending on how many double crochets you've done, but it doesn't matter. Just remember to always count that chain as 1 stitch. So if you work into the stitch right before, then you would skip 2 and work into the 3rd. Or even if the center chain is the 3rd chain or the 3rd stitch from where you are, you're just going to work right into that space with your single crochet. So it counts as a stitch. Just keep that in mind as you're working along. For me, I'm skipping over it this time. It can change for the next one. So here is skipping 1, the chain is skipping 2, and I'll be working into the first stitch after the chain space. That is my number 3. You can pause the video, keep working all the way along the edge of your shawl, and I'll meet you when you get to the very end right over here. At the end of your row, yours will probably look different than mine, but I have 4 stitches plus a chain, so 5 stitches. I'm still going to skip 2 and work into the 3rd with my single crochet. And now I'm just going to chain 2 and work into my chain with that single crochet. Just like that. So you can fudge yours if you need to. It doesn't matter. It's going to be gorgeous. We're putting flowers on top of everything. So that is great. Don't even worry about it. Now we are ready to start the leaves. So to start row 2 of the leaves, chain 1 and turn your work. Go into the very first stitch we made, 1 single crochet, and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to go into the second chain right here, and we're just going to be working into 1 loop of our chain. So into that second chain, slip stitch. Into the next chain, 1 single crochet. Chain 1. Into the next chain, just underneath that 1 loop, half double crochet. And into the next chain, 1 double crochet. So there is our first leaf. And now we're going to make 1 single crochet into the next stitch. Right there, 1 single crochet. So there is our first leaf. And we're going to do that again. So chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Into the second chain, slip stitch. Into the chain after that, single crochet. Chain 1 into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet. And into the last chain, 1 double crochet. Jump right over to that next single crochet and make 1 single crochet into the single crochet. So we're just going to be repeating that all the way along the edge of our shawl. We can do one more together. So chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slip stitch into the second chain. Single crochet into the next. Chain 1. Half double crochet into the next. And double crochet into the last. And then single crochet right into that stitch. Just like that. Then I can pause the video, keep working along, making a chain 5 leaf, and then single crocheting into the stitch all the way along, and I'll meet you when you get right back here to where we began. When you've made your last leaf and you're ready to do your last single crochet, we're just going to go right in to the legs of that very first stitch. Right there, right into the center. So just pop your hook in and make 1 single crochet. And chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. Now you can go back and sew in your tails, just matching the green up with the green and whatever color you used for your shawl, just lining it up with that color. And now we are ready to make the roses. I like to start by making my flowers separate, just for the beginning so I can kind of see how I like the order to be so I don't have to mess up and frog back my flowers. You can also just make them directly onto your blanket, but if you change your mind, you lose your flower. So until I know what I'm going to do, I like to make them separate. I'll show you how to do both ways. And I'm also making 2 different sizes. So there is a small size, which are these, and then these 2 are the larger sizes. Just so when it's in a bouquet, it gives it a little bit more bang. Now, this is an emotional support shawl, so this gives me my emotional support right there. The only difference between the larger flower and the smaller flower is the chain we start with. So for the small flower, it is a chain 14, and for the larger flower, it's a chain 20. But everything is the same other than the starting chain. And I also want to leave about an 8-inch tail just in case we need it for sewing it together later. So just make a slip knot, shrink it down, and pop it onto your hook, and chain either 14 for the small or 20 for the large. I'm going to do 14 for the small, but if you want to do a large one, just chain 20. So 1, 2, 3, 13, and 14. Now we're going to go in to the 3rd chain from our hook. So the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we're going to go in there, and we just have to go underneath the 1 loop. So just be looking at one side of your chain, and we're always going to be working into that same top loop. So we're going to start with 1 double crochet. Into the next chain, we're going to do 2 double crochets. Into the same chain. And then into each of the next chains, we're going to do 3 double crochets into each. So as you're making your flowers, you say 1, and then you say 2, and then you say 3 the rest of the way. We're just doing 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So if you're doing a large flower, you're just going to be doing more of these sets of 3. So 3 double crochets into the same chain. And then we're going to go in, and then we're going to go into the next chain and do 3 double crochets into the next chain. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do that all the way down along our chain. And you want to keep your chain facing the same way. So I'm facing mine with the V's facing up. And I'm always going to be going into that top loop all the way down. So you can pause the video, 3 double crochets into each chain, and I will meet you at the end of your chain right down here. At the end of your chain, just make sure you go into that very last chain right where that slip knot is. Just like that. So there's 3 double crochets into all those chains. And now into the very same chain, right there at the bottom, we're just going to slip stitch. just to finish off our rose or our flower, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Now you want to leave a longer tail, around 12 inches, because we're going to use this to sew our rose together. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And now go ahead and thread your needle. I like a sharp tip needle for sewing together flowers, but you could also just use a blunt tip needle if that's all you have. These are linked in the description box down below. And now you can just drop the needle and that tail. We want to start in the beginning, in the center, that smallest bit. And just go in and roll it up. And you want the top of these rows to be nice and flat, or as flat as you can get them. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's a flower, but we're going to start by sewing it together flat along the top, or almost flat along the top. And then just flipping it over, looking where our tail is coming from, and we want to go maybe a stitch ahead and all the way across our flower, like that, and pull it through. You don't want to pull too hard where it shrinks up your flower, but you do want to have it firm. And I'm going to skip over a few stitches and go all the way back through. And I'm kind of pinching my flower shut so it stays flat along the bottom. And I'm coming out underneath those stitches. Well, I'm going in and coming out underneath the base of those stitches every time. So skipping a few stitches over and coming back, coming out underneath those stitches. And you're just going to do this around and around until your flower is secure or your tail is getting too short. That's why I leave a little extra yarn or a little longer tail in the beginning in case I cut this one too short. It's good to have a backup. So now just keep going until you feel that your flower is secure. It's not going to come apart. And so you've gone through all the different angles. And we want to end up on the opposite side as our short tail. So our short tail is right here, so I want to end up on the other side. We're going to use these as like shoelaces to attach our flower later. I'm just going to come out across from that first tail. Like that. There is our first little flower, and now you can make a whole bunch of these, or I'll also show you how to build it onto your blanket. If it's hot weather where you are, it's nice to do this separate, so you're not underneath a blanket for so long or underneath a shawl. If it is cold weather, it's nice to just make these straight onto your shawl. When you're ready to join your flowers, we want to be looking at the top of our flower, so the pretty stitches facing up. The back of your stitches look a bit like macaroni, and the top of your stitches have a little bit of a V going around the edges. And we're going to start here at this stitch, just the 2 front loops, and this is a great spot to use a smaller crochet hook. You could also just thread a needle, but you'd have to thread both tails. It takes a bit more time. And take your flower. I'm starting with a large flower on the edge for my bouquet. And just insert your hook in one direction and bring a tail through. And then insert your hook in the opposite direction and bring the other tail through. So we have our 2 tails going through the front loops of that stitch, or the side loops actually, the loops you can see. And now we can just shrink it up and we can just knot it onto our shawl. And you can do this really snug if you are using acrylic yarn. So pull it once and pull it again. And you can do it a few times. Just like that. That's 3 times. And it's really secure. And then on the back, you also don't see any pink showing through that isn't the flower. So we didn't see any of our stitching there. Now we can sew in our tails. Now thread your tails and look where it's coming from. And we just want to go up into our flower and out the other side. It's already knotted. We're just hiding our tails. We're just going to hide them in the middle of our flower. And we want to do that for both tails. And poke that one through to the other side as well. So I'm just going up into the flower and out the other side. It doesn't matter where. And now we can cut off those two tails, and those ends will stay hidden in the middle of our flower. And that is our first flower joined up. To join our second flower, we're not going to work into this next post, and we're not working into the post after. We're going to go straight into the leaf. So we're going to work into a leaf, just two of those stitches that we can see are 2 strands of yarn. And the one after that is going to go into these strands at the front, going across. So we're going to do one across, and we're going to do one up and down. Let me see if I can show you, just so you can see how we're spacing them out. So into a post, then we're skipping a post, into a leaf, skipping a post, into a post. You'll see as we go along. So our next flower goes right here. So I'm going to use the same style, just popping my hook up. It's a smaller pink flower this time for me. You could do all yours the same size and all the same color. And then just follow that yarn with your hook and bring the next yarn through, the next tail. Just like that. And now we can shrink that one up and give that one a double, triple knot. Oops. If you pull it too much by accident, just give it a little massage to loosen it out and tie it again without pulling too tight, and tie it again and try to pull tight that time. Now that still shrunk a little bit. So just keep doing that until when you pull it really tight, it doesn't have any, it just stays right where it is. It doesn't shrink up anymore. Okay, that's good. That's really stuck. All right. Now we can sew in those tails through the flower and cut them off. And you're ready to start the next flower. So we've done post, leaf. Now we're going to do post. And it's going to be an orange one for me. So same way as we did before. One strand going one direction, follow that yarn with the hook, and bring the other opposite tail in the opposite direction. Shrink that up. And we're going to give this one a double knot as well. So now you can pause the video and keep joining your flowers into a leaf and into a post and into a leaf and into a post all the way along, and until all of your flowers are joined up. Another way you can keep track of what you need to do for your flowers on your shawl is start both ends. So the next one I would do, I'd just be building onto this other side, doing the exact same thing that we did. So both of the ends match, and then working down both sides until the center back. Then if your stitch count is off or you need to do anything to adjust it, you can always change it up, put a bigger flower in the center back or an extra flower, whatever you need to do. And to mark that, I can just pop in a stitch marker so that you know where the adjustment is. So if you're working along, you get close to this stitch marker, swap over and work on the other side coming back so you can adjust your flowers or your leaf count. And then when you get close to that stitch marker, you will know that that's where you can adjust or do something a little bit different to finish off your shawl perfectly. So when both sides have reached the center back of your shawl, where that stitch marker is, I put my main flower there in the center, so that will always line up with this seam. And now it's a little off center. So I could have left it like this and just had some green going on, but for me, I'm just going to pop in some extra flowers. I also could have changed this one to orange, but whatever you want to do to even out the back of your shawl. And now I'm just going to attach these last 2 flowers, and I'm finished. And there it is finished. So I hope you enjoyed making your emotional support shawl as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked.